Let's have a look at the Unreal interface. If we look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the name class_demo, which is our project name. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see third-person example map, and that is the name of the map file, or what you would call a scene file, which is this in the viewport. Now, each of these windows have a specific purpose. We have our world view here in the center, which shows us our world. And you can select different objects by left clicking with the left mouse button. And then over on the left hand side, we have our modes panel. Now the modes panel has several tabs. The first tab is the place tab, and this allows you to place different objects into the game world. You just pick an object and drag it out. Now the second tab is the paint tab, and this allows us to do weight painting and vertex painting. The third tab is our terrain tab, and this allows us to actually create an outdoor terrain and sculpt it and paint it. The next tab is the foliage tab, and this allows us to place small items on the terrain, such as grass, flowers, small rocks, and it allows you to set it up in a way that you can do it in large quantities. The last tab we won't use a lot in this tutorial, but it's a tab for the geometry, and it allows you to do minor editing of geometry. Now, across the top of the interface, you'll notice a variety of icons, including the play button, and this will let you play the game. By the way, you just hit the escape key on the keyboard to exit. These icons may be different in your build of Unreal. It depends on what plugins you have installed. For example, you can see here that I have the Megascans plugin installed, and that most likely will not be in your setup. So just be aware that the icons do change, but certain icons will always be there, like the build icon and the play icon. Now, along the bottom of the interface, you're going to see a window called the Content Browser. And this actually is where all our content is stored. Now, if you click this little icon here, you can actually see it in a tree format. So you can see all the folders and all the subdirectories. Here's our content folder, and this content folder is the content folder from the class demo project. Making these folders is really simple. You just right click in the interface here and go new folder and call this folder Eddie. And now I've made a new folder that is stored in the content directory. And I'll just do a file save all in order to save everything. Everything is stored here. Your map files, your models, your materials, everything is stored inside your content directory. Now, a map file is this. It's your world. This entire area is a map file. Now, the reason that you can save map files is that you may have more than one. In a video game, a game can have multiple levels. So each level would be a different map file. And saving a map file is easy. All you have to do is go, and we're going to put this in the Eddie folder. I'm going to go File, Save Current As, and we'll select the Eddie folder. And I'll just change the name to Eddie Example Map. So now you can see that this whole map file, this whole area inside the viewport, is now saved as Eddie Example Map. And I'll just make sure that we keep it saved. Now let's look at some more panels. Just going to move my view here a little bit Let's look at the cube here. Now, as soon as I selected this cube, you'll notice that things changed on the right-hand side. We have what's called a world outliner, and this is literally a list of everything that is in your map file. Every single light, every single object, everything. The world outliner keeps track of everything that's in your map file or your film scene or your game for that specific map. Now, you may have also noticed that a panel below this, called the Details panel, changed as soon as you selected an object. And what this is literally the details for that specific object. Right here we have the transforms, the location, the rotation, the scale of this object. If I grab this and move the object up, you'll see that the numbers change in the z-axis. And if I do Control Z to undo this, they return back to the number they started with. So just remember that the world outliner keeps track of everything that's in your map file or your scene, and the details panel will give you specific details for each object that you have selected. Let's look at the last panel that's in the interface here, and that's the world settings panel. Now you get to it by just left mouse clicking on the tab, and you'll see the settings for world settings. It's exactly what it sounds like. All the settings that could affect everything in your world are here in this panel. So if it's in the world settings panel, it's going to have an overall effect over the entirety of your map file, or what you would call your scene file. Two other things that could affect the way you work are the project settings and the plugins panel. Now you can find them under the edit menu. Go to the upper left hand corner and just go to project settings. The project settings are quite extensive, and it'll take you some time to get used to them, but it's not required in order to do this tutorial. I will show you one, and I'm just going to click the all settings here, and what that does is it brings everything to the right panel so you can scroll down it. And I'm just going to find the startup map and the game default map. And I'm just going to grab my Eddie example map and drag them in here. And I'm using the left mouse button and just holding it down and drag and drop. Now, since I've done this, once I hit Save All, the editor will always start up with this map. So let's look at the other window. This is the plugins window. Any plugin that you currently have installed will be checked as enabled. Now, there are times where you might want to disable a plugin temporarily, or you might want to enable one for a specific task. This is where you would go to find it, and there's just a ton of them. There's experimental plugins that are being worked on by Unreal, and they cover every field you can imagine. So it's worth your time to just go through and check them out and see if there's anything that's of use to you.